Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm painting some of these little page holders that I've made to sell on my website, and I just thought it'd be a bit of fun if I sat and chatted to you all while I did it. So I've gone on Reddit and I've had a look at what people have asked readers, and I've also asked non-readers why they don't consider themselves readers. So I've put some of the questions and responses in my little tangled cup. I'm going to pull one out and just have a little chat while I do some of my painting. So this one I've already started. I'm doing little paw prints on it. So I've just got a little bit more to do. Let's pull out the first one. So this was in response to why do you not consider yourself a reader? So it says, I find it hard to read the words. They move around the page and I jump forwards and backwards and I get too anxious and stop. This one made me a bit sad because I think that everybody should be able to read. Reading is for everyone, and that's why there's so many different formats that you can read in. For this person, I would suggest that you maybe have a look at using Kindle. If you can get that, you can get the Kindle app for free on your phone or tablet. And try and have a go at reading on there, because you can make the font size really big. So you could change it so there's only actually a couple of words on the page, and then it might not confuse you as much. My other suggestion would be to give audiobooks a go. So where I'm from in the UK, my library has Libby and BorrowBox, which are apps which have free ebooks and audiobooks for you to borrow. So you just borrow a book, it's there on your phone, and you can listen to it, or you can read it like on Kindle. I haven't actually read an ebook on there, so I'm not sure if you can change the font size, but I assume you can with it being an ebook. But definitely use the audiobook feature. That's my favourite place to get audiobooks. So that means that you can still enjoy the stories without the stress or anxiety that reading actually causes you. I think that it's really important that everybody has access to storytelling and literature. I think it's really important. There's audiobooks and ebooks available for all different ages too, so definitely give that a go. If reading's difficult, try it in a different format and that might make it easier, because you're missing out on so many great stories and, you know, brilliant authors and all sorts of different writing styles. If you've tried reading and you just go, oh, it's not for me, there's so many different types of reading that it's not possible to just say it's not for you if you've only tried a couple of times. So that would be my advice for that individual. Let's get another one. Okay, so this is another response to my question. And this person says, I only read articles. If you're a reader, people ask you, what books have you read? Now, I found that interesting because instantly when I would say a reader, I also wouldn't think of someone who reads articles being necessarily a reader, but they definitely are. They're reading, they're engaging with people's words, people's writing. You know, non-fiction books, non-fiction authors still write for readers, so why would journalists not? Do you know what I mean? It's actually quite interesting that I've never thought of this before. I'd say that probably the majority of people are readers because a lot of people read articles. I think it's really interesting. People write articles from all different walks of life and different places of the world, so they could be even more educational than normal books. So I think that you can learn quite a lot from being an article type reader or just a reader in general. I think everyone can learn a lot by reading. Okay, so this is a question that someone has asked. So, readers, what are you currently reading? Now, I am currently reading a book which is for a future video, or maybe a past video, because I don't know when I'm going to upload this one or the other one. It's called The Salt Path, and it is a true story about a husband and wife who've lost everything. They're homeless, they have no money, and they decide to walk the south coast. And it's really interesting. They're not in the best of health, they're in their 50s, and it's just a point of view that I haven't really read much from before, and I'm really enjoying it actually so far. I also cannot wait to watch the movie adaptation. It might be a bit of a hot take to really enjoy movie adaptations of books. I'm going on to a different topic now with a bit of a tangent, but with regards to movie adaptations, people get so angry when details change from their favourite book into the movie adaptation. But I always view movie adaptations as a story based on the book rather than a retelling of the book on screen. So I think that might be why I enjoy them a lot more, because I find it really interesting how other people can interpret the story, or if slight details were different, how would the story play out? Like, I think that's just the way my mind works. Like, it doesn't shut up, it doesn't shut off when I finish the book. I keep thinking about it, I want to know more. Like, so I think seeing different, sort of like a different version play out, I really enjoy that. But then I also really enjoy a faithful adaptation if it's a book that I really enjoyed, because I really enjoyed the story. So I think I just like movie adaptations in general, which might be a bit unpopular. But yeah, I'm currently reading The Salt Path, and I'm reading it so that I can go and watch the movie adaptation when that comes out at the end of this month and compare them. So this next one says, how do you regain your reading habit? So I think this one was posted by somebody who used to read a lot as a child, and then they fell out of love with reading as they got a bit older. And I kind of went through this. It was only a couple of years while I was in college that I didn't really read much. So maybe not to the extent of this person who wants to regain their reading habit. But I would say one thing that you can do is reread a book that you loved when you were a reader. So even if that's like a children's book, a Roald Dahl, or a classic, something that you did in school, a Shakespeare, whatever it was that you enjoyed reading at the time, read that again and you might still really enjoy it. It might relight that fire that you had for your love of reading. Another tip I'd give is to read something completely different to what you've read before. If you fell out of love with reading because you were getting bored of the stories that you were reading, read something else. I know a lot of people obviously only read, well, should have only read age-appropriate books when they were younger, so YA, children's books. So, you know, a lot of people who gave up on reading have never read adult fiction. So give it a go. Read a gory horror, read a crime thriller, read a smutty romance, whatever it is. Give it a go. You might rekindle your love for reading. That's what I'd say. I'd say either read something familiar or something completely unknown to you, and you might just love it. And if you don't love it, read something else, because there is a book for everyone. There are so many different types of books, different writing styles, different genres, different themes. There's different speeds, like you can get a really slow-paced book that's emotional. You can get a really fast-paced book that you just can't put down. You get through it in like a day. Like, there's so many different types of books out there. And if you haven't found one that you love, it's because you stopped reading when you should have picked up another book. That's my advice. Pick another one. So this is another non-reader. They say, why would I read a book when I can watch a movie? Okay. I feel like that's a loaded question. That might get a few people riled up. Why would I read a book when I can watch a movie? Okay, I'd say, when was the last time you actually put a movie on at home and watched it, all of it, without picking up your phone halfway through and having a little scroll on Facebook, without going on a mobile game that's mind-numbing that you don't even have to look at your screen while you're watching the film, without getting up to make a drink, go in the toilet and going, oh, I just won't bother pausing it, it's not an interesting bit or whatever. When was the last time you did that? Because when you read a book, if you make a drink or you go to the toilet or you pick up your phone, you stop reading the book to do that thing. So you do not miss a single section of the book if you read the whole thing. Obviously, if you skip chapters, you're going to miss some, but why would you do that if you read the book? So I engage with the story a lot more when I'm reading because I've actually read the whole story. I've engaged with the entire thing. I didn't skip a little bit. I didn't zone out. Like, I'm focused on reading. I'm reading that book and I read the whole book. That's the way I read. I don't know about anybody else. If you can sort of disappear and do other things whilst also reading but not absorbing the story, please let me know. It's not something that I've mastered how to do, nor would I ever want to do that, but it is something, unfortunately, that I end up doing when I put a film on, because to just sit there all that time just watching the film, I sometimes do get a little bit bored, and I do end up checking my emails or going on online shopping and adding things to my basket when I should be paying attention to the film. Like, these things just happen with me anyway. I don't know. I feel like my attention span isn't suited to watching films, really. I get distracted. I can sit there and read a book for hours on end, but film, unless I'm in the cinema where it's like I'm glued to my chair and I cannot leave for anything. Unless that's the case, I'm probably gonna zone out. Though I did the other day put The Fault in Our Stars on just because Boom Clap by Charlie XCX got stuck in my head for no reason, and I just felt like I had to watch The Fault in Our Stars then. And I did sit and watch that. Though I cannot confirm if for any period of time I opened my phone and did something else, but I don't know, I couldn't tell you. Ooh, do you prefer audiobooks over reading? Short answer, no. I prefer reading. But I do love an audiobook in certain circumstances. I've been recommended so many times to read Verity, for example, by Colleen Hoover, and I am not a Colleen Hoover reader generally. I read It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us because everyone read those and I enjoyed them at the time. But that's all I'd read of hers, and I didn't really have any want or desire to read anything else by her, really. But so many people told me that I should read Verity, and I was a bit like, I don't really know, don't know if I actually want to read that. But I had a credit on Audible, so I just downloaded it and I had it there ready and waiting. And in that circumstance, I did listen to it and I enjoyed the story for what it was. I did quite enjoy that one. But I would never have sat there and read that book. I would never have put that amount of time into reading that book because I just didn't want to. So having an audiobook meant that I could listen to it while I was walking around the shops and, wrapping up books for my business, and it meant that I absorbed the story whilst doing other things rather than dedicating the amount of hours that it takes to read the book solely to that story, if you know what I mean. So in that circumstance, I preferred the audiobook, but generally, if I could only have one, I'm going to keep reading physical or Kindle over audiobook. I just love reading. I love sitting there with a book and reading it. I love it. I love looking at the words on the page. I love feeling like that's the only thing that I'm doing in that moment. I love when a story just, I'm just engrossed in it and I don't want to do anything else. I love that feeling. And I don't really get that with audiobooks. The only audiobook I listened to where I was like, I have to finish this right now, was Peter Kay's TV. I just loved it. I loved hearing him talking about all these things. And I listened to the whole thing in one day, but I was doing other things. I'd say I was more absorbed in the audiobook than I was the things I was doing, if you know what I mean. That was a really good one. but they're few and far between, I think, audiobooks that really grip me, that, you know, I have to listen to. I think there's only like two or three audiobooks that I've like listened to start to finish all on the same day. But there's so many books where I've read and like it was annoying if I had to get up and go to the toilet or make tea. I was like, oh, I just want to carry on reading. And I don't get that as often with audiobooks. I think I get more engrossed in reading than I do listening. Okay, in the same kind of topic, this was a non-reader says they don't consider themselves a reader because they only listen to audiobooks while multitasking. So I think that obviously this person doesn't read physical books at all. They only listen to audiobooks and they only do that while they're multitasking. Now, I would say that they should still consider themselves a reader because they've still interacted with that story, that storyteller. If you spoke to them and you said, oh, like, what did you think of such a book? And they were able to have a coherent conversation that makes sense because they've understood and absorbed that story. You wouldn't then follow it up by saying, oh, but did you actually read it? Or did you listen to it? Because that's just not relevant in that scenario. If someone's enjoyed a story, then they've read it, in my opinion, whether that's physically reading or listening on an audiobook. They've interacted with that media, and they've enjoyed it and they've understood the story, and I think that's fine. I think that you can consider yourself a reader, like an audiobook reader maybe, I don't know. I think it's great. I think audiobooks are brilliant, really. I think a lot of people don't have the time to sit there with a book and read the whole thing, so I think an audiobook that you can do other things while listening to it is a brilliant way for people to enjoy more stories. And, you know, like I said, there's authors and writers from all different walks of life. I like reading about characters that are totally different to me, characters that I can't fully relate to. I like understanding where these people come from, and, you know, these characters are usually written by authors that have been through that experience or similar. And I think it's great to hear stories told from people who've gone through things that we haven't, and I think there's a lot to learn from that. So I think whether you're absorbing those stories through reading or audiobook, it doesn't matter. You're still getting the benefits from engaging with that content, and I think that's a good thing. Okay, this one says, what are your favourite genres and themes? I am one of those really annoying people that's like, I read everything, I like a bit of everything. So let's talk about everything. Okay, firstly, romance. I do like romance. I try and say I don't read much romance, but my story graph would beg to differ. There's lots of romance on there that I read, and, you know, not every single one is like a normal romance. There's a lot where romance is a subplot, but I do really like it. I do love finding out if two characters are going to get together at the end, or, you know, see where their story goes. I do love it. There are tropes and stuff in romance that I'm not as keen on, but that doesn't mean that I don't like romance. I do enjoy romance. I enjoy it quite a lot. I enjoy it more than I think I do, I think. I'm not massive on smut, really. I will read some. Sometimes I just fancy a romance book that I don't really have to think about much, and a lot of them contain smut, and that's fine. You know, I'm not I don't dislike reading books with smut, but a book definitely doesn't need smut for me to read it. And sometimes, if I read a couple of books that have smut in back to back, I just feel like it's really samey. I'm just not interested. And sometimes some of the words that the writers use in smut really takes me out of it, and it's just not something that I find particularly sexy or anything. Like, I don't want to say it grosses me out, because I feel like that's quite harsh, but sometimes I just think, like, if my partner said that to me in that circumstance, the chapter wouldn't continue as it does in the book. Let's say that. So yeah, that's not always for me. I do really enjoy dark themes, which is quite funny, because it's funny to say that you enjoy dark things, but I love my horrors, my thrillers, my crime books, my deep, dark, emotional books, my literary fiction that can be quite cynical. Like, I do really enjoy darker themes. I'm not grossed out by gruesome descriptions, horror books, murder books. Like, I'll read them, but I don't think there's anything that I've come across that's made me want to stop reading. I don't read, not everything I read is dark. I do also love light-hearted fiction as well, because like I say, I like a bit of everything, and I really do. Even fantasy, which I'd say is probably my least favourite genre generally, because I'm not massive on like epic fantasies, more hardcore fantasies like dragons and kingdoms, toucher and I'll kill you kind of fantasy vibes. I'm not really into that. But a light-hearted, cozy fantasy, I'm there. A bit of magical realism, I love it. So I really do like just a little bit of everything. I like my dark themes, but I also like my light-hearted themes. I like my comedy, but I also like an emotional book. I just like a bit of everything, really. This one says an author that never lets you down. And I don't know. I like reading a lot of authors, but like one or two books. Like, there isn't an author that I know of that I've read every single one of their books and I'm like, oh, I love that author, I love their books. When I was younger, I read all of Carrie Hope Fletcher's books when they came out. Like, every time one of her books came out, I was there, I wanted it. All That She Can See is still my favourite one. But I like haven't read them all. Now, as I got older, that was kind of like when I stopped really reading a bit, and she released a few more books, and I've not read them all. There's only I think there's a couple that I've not read, and I would like to read them eventually. I have enjoyed all of her books, so maybe she's one that I would say has never let me down. I don't get let down by a book very often, really. I also liked Giovanna Fletcher, some of her books, but again, I've not read them all. Like, You're the One That I Want is one of my favourites by her. That was really good. And I did like Billy and Me as well. But there's still quite a few that I've not read, so I couldn't say that she never lets me down. She hasn't yet, but I haven't read that many, really, to judge it. I guess another author that really hasn't ever let me down is Tara Maffey with the Shatter Me series. So that is 9 books, including novellas, and then her 10th book, the first one in a new series, has just come out, which I absolutely adored. I don't think I've rated a single one of her books less than 4 stars. So I think that's one that has never let me down. But I do have this Woven Kingdom series by her on my shelf. It's just 3 books, and it is like a dragon fantasy. And I know I just said not into fantasy dragons and stuff there, but I have her series because I love her other books. So I'm yet to read it because I'm a little bit scared, because I'm scared of the dragons. But so far, she's never let me down. Oh, this one says a book that you regret reading. Now, I don't think I've ever regret reading a book. I really don't. I'm struggling with this to think of something to say. A book that you regret reading? That's a really strong word. I can talk about books I didn't necessarily enjoy reading. The first book in the ACOTAR series I wasn't really feeling until like the last like third or quarter, and there was a bit more action. And then I did start reading the second one and I DNF'd it because I wasn't enjoying it. But I wouldn't say I regret reading it. This is tough. I want to know if any of you are watching and there's a book that you genuinely regret reading, please let me know, because I enjoy reading all the time. So, like, even if it's a book that I didn't particularly enjoy, I still like reading. Or I guess I could say that I regret reading When the Moon Hatched. That definitely should have been a DNF for me because I wasn't enjoying it and it did put me in reading slump. But that's more I regret my own stupidity and determination of for some reason not wanting to DNF that particular book rather than I regret reading the book itself. I've never read a book and it's had a negative impact on me where I'm thinking about it in negative ways. Like, I've never been scarred from a book. I've never had a book make me rethink my own life experiences and alter the ways that I believe certain things work. I think that's the only reason that I would ever regret reading a book. If a book made me then question what I enjoy or how I live my life or, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, I guess the closest to that is When the Moon Hatched. I regret that I didn't DNF it. I regret letting it put me in a reading slump because that was really annoying. I just wanted to read and nothing. I felt like I couldn't read until I finished it, which is just really silly. If you're ever not enjoying a book, just stop reading it because life's too short to read bad books. That's simple as. This is what I'm working on now. It's like a little wintry one, silver snowflakes and white little snowballs. I think it's quite cute. Next. Okay, so this is another non-reader, and they say I only read when I have to. So they don't consider themselves a reader because they only read when they have to. I think that's really sad. You know, I'm assuming this person is like in school or university or something, and they're like they only read their educational books and they don't read for leisure. I mentioned earlier, like, I think if you don't enjoy reading, I think it's just because you've not found the right book. You've not read enough variety in genre for you to find a book that really resonates with you. For this person, yeah, I get not calling yourself a reader if you don't read for leisure. If you only read when you feel like you have to read and you're not particularly enjoying it. I wouldn't call myself a reader in that scenario either. But I do think it's sad. I think that everyone should have a go at reading something that they enjoy. You know, there's books based on gaming, there's like non-fiction books in every topic that you could possibly imagine. There's murder books, there's romance books, there's sexy books, there's magical books. There literally is like a little bit of everything out there. So to me, it just doesn't make sense how someone can say that they've never found a book that they like to read, because it's literally like limitless the amount of options that are out there for you to give a go. I think a lot of people feel like they don't have the time to read, that they don't want to start reading a book and they feel like they're going to have to put it down. Money isn't really a reason not to read because of the libraries. And like I mentioned earlier, like there's the library apps where you can get ebooks and audiobooks for free as well. So even if you struggle to actually get out to the library, there's ways for you to support and use your library remotely. I also think that as you become an adult or you stop being in education, there isn't as many times where you have to read something, really. Like, unless you're in a job that, like, makes you have to read things. Not many people are like, oh, I have to read this. Like, if someone has lent you a book, it's not like there's a deadline or any pressure on when you have to have read it. I mean, I did have to read in my old job in terms of like keeping up to date with financial news, and you know, like everyone has to read things every day, reading labels, reading road signs. Like, depends on what your class is reading. Like, everyone has to read, don't they? No one sort of like just goes through life not having to read a single thing. It shouldn't feel like reading, if you know what I mean. I think it's sad that there's people who feel like they can't just pick up a book and get lost in a story like that, because honestly, I get so much joy and escapism from reading. It's such a big part of my life and my interests, my work, everything that I do sort of revolves around reading in some way. I have a lot of relationships with people where, you know, we discuss books. You know, I'm friends with one of my ex-work colleagues, I don't work there anymore. We both enjoy reading and we'll talk about books. I've recently joined a book club where I've met a few local ladies that are all interested in books. I have relationships with certain family members where we're always discussing books. It's such a big part of my life, and maybe it's just difficult for me to understand not wanting to read or not wanting to be a reader or feeling like you have to read certain things. Like, it's just maybe not in my nature to feel that way, so it's harder for me to empathise in that situation. But I would suggest, if you want to be a reader and you don't consider yourself a reader because you only read when you have to, read for leisure, pick something up that sounds interesting to you. Go into the library, go into a charity shop, look through some books and just pick some that sound interesting and give them a go. What have you got to lose? Literally, like, there's so much to gain and not very much to lose at all in that scenario. This one's done. And then, I don't know if I showed the paw print one as well. Very cute, shiny paw prints. Let's pick another. Well, there's not very many left in here. So this is another non-reader, and it says, I haven't read fiction in years. I don't consider being a reader as only being a fiction reader. If you read non-fiction, you are just as much a reader, in my opinion. So if I was this person, I would consider myself a reader. I would, and I'd just consider myself a non-fiction reader. I think that you can get a non-fiction book in pretty much any topic that you could want and imagine. There is a book out there for every interest, for every hobby. Like, there's just so much out there, so I think you can learn a lot from reading non-fiction, obviously. And I think that there are still stories that you can hear from reading non-fiction as well. I think a lot of people imagine non-fiction books to be like just textbooks, factual books. But really, there is so much out there that's non-fiction that's just amazing stories. The book I'm currently reading, The Salt Path, this is such an amazing story. It's so inspirational. It's amazing. I'm really enjoying reading it. And I'm reading about someone that I probably wouldn't have read about otherwise. It's a story and an experience that I'm never going to have. Well, I don't think I'm ever going to have. But it's really exciting and I'm enjoying that story. And if it was fictional, I still would have read it. Funnily enough, I did think it was fictional at first. Oops. So you can definitely enjoy a good story if it's non-fiction. And if you enjoy those stories, you're definitely a reader in my eyes. I don't see why you wouldn't be a reader. Why would you not class yourself a reader if you don't read fiction? You don't have to read fiction. I just love reading. I love reading a mix. I love memoirs as well. They're always great. They're obviously all non-fiction. Biographies, autobiographies. You could read one about your favourite singer. There's so much that you can enjoy, and you're definitely a reader if you enjoy reading those things. I've just accidentally stamped my hand on where I was painting, so I'm doing a leopard print, and now I have leopard print paint all over me and lots of smudged shapes. That's not ideal, is it? Let's see if I can fix that. Let's get another one. Ooh, physical versus Kindle. For me, it'll always be physical. I do enjoy reading on my Kindle. I read a lot quicker on there. It's convenient, obviously. I went on holiday last year and I took 7 physical books with me. It was before I had my Kindle. And it took up a lot of space. They took up a lot of room. The bag was heavy. I think I read 5 of them because I wanted to have a variety. That's why I took so many. A Kindle would be easier in that scenario, where I could just take my Kindle and I've got 40 books with me or whatever, however many Kindle books you have. But I just think nothing beats opening a book, and I'm one of those people where after I've read every single reading session, I'm checking to see how far in the book I am, and it's just a part of reading that I really enjoy. So you don't get that from a Kindle, really. I read faster on my Kindle. I do still really enjoy my Kindle, do not get me wrong. I'm kind of itching to read a Kindle book at the moment because I'm trying to get through a lot of my physical TBR, because I have I think in total I have around 240 books yet to read, which is too many books. I'm not comfortable with that amount. And I think around 180 of them are physical books. So I'm trying to read more of those. But I am itching to read a Kindle book, not gonna lie. I'm just, ready to sit there and tap on my little Kindle screen and read in the night without my big clip-on reading light waking my boyfriend up next to me. Generally speaking, you can't beat a physical book because I love the smell of a book. I love the sound it makes when you turn your page. I love how a book feels in my hands. I love feeling the paper. I just love a physical book. I love going into bookshops and picking up books and looking at them and feeling any embossed covers, stuff like that. I just really do love it. It's something that I really do enjoy, so I definitely would say I prefer a physical book over Kindle. But I do still enjoy my Kindle, and I can see instances and certain scenarios where a Kindle would be better. I've just got one left. This is the last one now. Okay, reading versus TV. I think you know what I'm going to say. I prefer reading over watching TV. I don't watch as much TV, really. I like quite a bit of reality TV, actually. I like Drag Race, Big Brother, quiz shows, that kind of thing. I like them. I like watching those on TV. In terms of a drama or a comedy series, I guess I'd rather watch a sitcom. You know, I was sat there watching Mr. Bean the other day and I was having a great time. I don't think I would read Mr. Bean if there was a Mr. Bean book. I don't think that's something that I would pick up to read, but I was watching him on telly. And I find Mr. Bean really funny. I like Mr. Bean. So I enjoyed watching that. But in terms of like watching a drama or something a bit heavier, I would just rather read it. Like I mentioned before, like I struggle to sit there and watch things without feeling like I need to be doing something. Like I'll go on my phone, I'll remember that I needed to buy something, or like I'll just get up and make a drink and I'm like, oh, it's okay, I can hear it. But like when you're reading a book, you're so engrossed in that book, and you can only read the book if you read in the book, that every single detail you're absorbing. But like on TV, I think things just get missed because like either it's too quick for me to notice like background details and cameo type things I don't usually see unless like I've watched someone else point it out. Like with me, if I watch something on TV, like I get a bit obsessed with it. Like when I watch Squid Game, I love Squid Game, and I was like watching hours and hours and hours of content on YouTube of people like spotting things and theories and stuff like that. But like I would have never noticed any of these details that these people were pointing out ever. And I love that I got to see those details by watching someone else explain it, like because I was obsessed with Squid Game at the time. I'm actually really excited for series 3. But I would never have noticed those details myself. I don't know if it's just because my attention to detail isn't there when I'm watching TV, or like I'm more focused on what I can hear than what I can see. I'm not sure. But reading a book, if something's there, I'm going to read it and I'm going to analyse it. So I feel like I get more of the details and information from reading rather than watching it. So I do prefer reading in general over TV. So that's all of my little Reddit answers and questions. So that's it from me for today. I've done a few little paintings. I did my paw print one. I did my little wintry snowflake one, and this leopard print. So that's really exciting. These will be for sale on my website. There's loads of other designs as well. I kind of like to make one of each design, so these particular ones might not be available at the time. If you go on there, if you're interested, or they might be. But if there's ever anything that anyone wants on a little page holder, they can always ask and I can make one. So that's it from me. I just thought it'd be fun to have a little bit of a chat while I'm getting some painting done, because I'm just sat here in silence anyway. So it means so much to me that you decided to spend some time with me today. I really do appreciate it. And I'm hoping that you'll come back and see me in another video. So please, if you can, because the algorithm loves it, like the video, drop a comment and subscribe to my channel, and I'll hopefully see you again soon. Bye!